Shabbat Shalom, Kol Halal Yahal, Ba'Hashem Yahushai, Ba'Hashem Rakar Kodash. Double honors to the elder apostles of GMS, including the elders that came before them, taught us this truth. And Shabbat Shalom and salutations to all the brothers are pushing the word in truth and in sincerity, the hopeful elect tabernacle of David. My brother Yashawan, back with this quick update. This is going into the meeting that's going on today. It probably has already gone on because right now it's 10:30 here. It's got to be, at least halfway through. It should be night over there in Geneva, Switzerland, which is where the meeting is being held between Russia and NATO and whoever else is involved as to how they're going to move forward in the Ukraine and what's going on in Kazakhstan. So we'll just start right here. We're going to watch a couple of videos and then try to keep it as short as possible, right? So right here, we're going to have Russia trying to reform the Soviet Union, all right? So let's start right here at 2, try to condense it, all right? So Ezekiel 38:2, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, all right? That's talking about Russia. That's talking about the Medes, all right? The chief prince of Meshech and Tubal to prophesy against him. Then we'll go right here to 4. And I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws. And I will bring thee forth and all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. This is the Most High reforming the Soviet Union. Okay, then it gets into their allies here. But this is what we're looking at right now. This is what we see going on with the Ukraine situation, and then whatever caused, right, the Kazakhstan situation. What we're seeing is the reformation of the Soviet Union, one way or the other, because this is what the Most High just said He's doing. I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth. He's going to get all of those countries back together. Where's the word back? And I will turn thee back. Back what? Back to the Soviet Union, and put hooks into thy jaws. Right? So let's take a look at that. And I'm going to, this is like 7 minutes, but it's so very informative as to what's going on. I'm going to try to read it because it waits until it gets to the very end to say what I just read in Ezekiel. All right? So this is Crux channel, January 7th, which is 3 days ago. And will NATO accept Ukraine, or is U.S.-led NATO only using Kiev to keep Putin's ambitions in check? So this is all chess, but again, it's what it says in the scriptures, okay? None of these shall fail. None of what? None of these prophecies. This is a prophecy that the Most High is putting the USSR, the Soviet Union, back together, all right, for His purposes. So we already know what's going to happen. Let's watch this and see what it says. I'm going to read a whole bunch of them. We'll try to keep up. Okay. Russia-U.S. spar over Ukraine's NATO membership. But does NATO really want to admit Ukraine into NATO? Will NATO gain or lose if it grants membership to Kiev? Ukraine's quest for NATO membership has sparked a standoff between the West and Russia. Kiev's request for NATO membership has stirred Russia's Putin, who has responded by amassing troops along his border with Ukraine. Moscow's move has been opposed by the US-led West, which says that Russia is preparing to invade Ukraine. Moscow has denied that it wants to invade Ukraine, but has clearly opposed NATO's expansion to the east. Putin has also sought security guarantees from the US that it won't use Ukrainian territory to host Western military bases, which is a lie. Russia also wants to minimize military cooperation between Kiev and the Western nations. NATO earlier had rejected Russian demands and backed Ukraine's decision to join the alliance.
So NATO's position when it comes to our relationship with Ukraine remains unchanged. And it is a fundamental principle that every nation has the right to choose its own path.
Yeah, right. But you ain't too sure you want to do that. NATO also said that a final decision on Ukraine's membership will be taken by NATO members and won't be dictated by Russia.
NATO's relationship with Ukraine is going to be decided by the 30 NATO allies and Ukraine, no one else. We cannot accept that Russia is trying to re-establish a system where big powers like Russia has spheres of influence where they can control or decide what other members can do.
Okay, so what he just described there, right? He went around saying he's not going to put together the Soviet Union again, right? And they're carefully choosing their words not to say that, but then at the end of this presentation, they come right out and say it, all right? Confirming Ezekiel 38. Does NATO want to embrace Ukraine? Amid tension with Russia, Ukraine's president has voiced frustration over NATO's reluctance to speed up Kiev's membership in the alliance. We're striving to unblock the peaceful... What is that? So they're at a stalemate over there in Ukraine. We're striving to unblock the peaceful settlement process in Donbass as quickly as possible to get Crimea back, because Russia went and annexed, that's the word that they use, Crimea, took it over, put them back in submission, which is part of the overall plan. Okay, because that's right down there. He's blocking, right? Because these places are right next to each other, Ukraine and Crimea. And that word Crimea has the word crime in it, crimson, right? To achieve EU membership in the next few years. And to get a very clear time horizon from NATO. See, and they're going to go into the crime that these guys are into. Although, I mean, Crimea, and they're all actually one place. They just got it divided up. Very concrete. We want it in 2022. So do we. We want all this shit to go down in 2022 so we can get the hell up out of here. Analysts say Zelensky's frustration is understandable since Kiev has sought to join the US-led alliance for years. While NATO has assured Kiev of its support, the alliance hasn't really moved beyond verbal assurances. Why is NATO undecided on Ukraine's membership? The crime part. The main objective of Ukraine President Vladimir Zelensky foreign policy is to strengthen Kiev's ties with the West. But experts say that Ukraine, being a corrupt and less prosperous state, will not add much value to NATO. Additionally, Ukraine's weak military and its geopolitical circumstances render it nearly indefensible. Experts say that NATO is already overstretched and it doesn't want to add another weak partner like Ukraine. The risks of confronting a nuclear power like Russia are huge, and no NATO member would want to start a nuclear war. This goes against NATO's founding treaty that requires all member states to defend any fellow member that comes under attack. NATO doesn't recognize Russia's annexation of Crimea, but if the bloc admits Ukraine, it will then have to evict Russia from the province. Experts also say that initiating Kiev's membership would also incentivize Moscow to destabilize Ukraine. There's also a lack of support among ordinary Ukrainians for NATO's membership as per November 2020 poll. As per the poll, only 41% of Ukrainians support NATO's membership, while 37% want Ukraine to remain non-allied. Why granting membership to Ukraine could strengthen NATO? Other experts argue that including Ukraine in NATO could strengthen the security alliance, and Kiev would be a valuable ally. Ukraine has already contributed troops to support NATO operations in Afghanistan and Kosovo. Experts say that NATO membership could spur Ukraine to reform its woefully underfunded military. The membership will also help Ukraine reform its politics and economy that Europe and the US have called for. Analysts say Ukraine, being an independent nation, has the right to decide its allies, and NATO must stand with Kiev. NATO membership will help Kiev rise above the shadow of Russia, which considers Ukraine a part of its sphere of influence. Why Ukraine joining NATO would be a setback for Putin. Ukraine is close to the Russian heartland, which is why Moscow views it as a buffer against the West. Kind of like the Russian missile crisis over here in Cuba. Putin's fears about Ukraine's NATO membership are not unfounded, as Kiev is only 469 miles from Moscow. If Ukraine is included in NATO, it will bring Western military hardware like the F-35s closer to Russian territory. Missile crisis. Reports also suggest that Ukraine is part of Putin's grand design to recreate, there it is. See how they waited all the way to the end of this thing? Reports also suggest that Ukraine is part of Putin's grand design to recreate the Soviet Union, the USSR. Going back to Ezekiel 38. Is it Putin's grand design, or is it Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai's grand design to recreate the Soviet Union? Okay? Putin is the king of Russia. He's the king of the Medes. What is he doing? He's doing the will of the Most High. All right, let's finish this. Ukraine is included in NATO, it takes Kiev away from Russia's sphere of influence and brings the West dangerously close to Ukraine. Okay, so there's that. What did that say? So let me look at that one more time. To Kremlin. Brings the West dangerously close to Kremlin, which is Russia's main city, or their Pentagon, if you will. All right, so let's look at that again right here. Ezekiel 38:4, and I will turn thee back. All right. What? Let's see if we can get this. Right here. I will turn thee back. Reports also suggest that Ukraine is part of Putin's grand design to recreate the Soviet Union. No, it's the Most High's grand design right here. And it doesn't say Putin. All right. And the word of the Lord. Okay. The word of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai is the one being spoken right here. And I, that's the Most High. Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws. So it's not Putin. It's grand design. Okay? The Most High is running the show. All right? And let's prove that. Okay? This is Proverbs 21. Proverbs 21 and 1. The king, that would be Putin. The king's heart is in, and this word heart is the Hebrew word lav, and it means your mind. So let's read it as such. The king's mind. Vladimir Putin's mind is in the hand of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. As the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. So when it says Putin's grand design, Putin's mind is in the hand of the Most High. He's only doing the will of the Most High, as we all are, for that matter. It's the Most High's show. Okay? We'll get one more. We'll go ahead and close it. Let's get I will stir up who? Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them. Against who? Against Babylon. Okay. Which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. Okay, let's get in there. 17. Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. Their bows, whose bows? The Medes, the Russians. Their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces, and they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eye shall not spare children. And Babylon, okay, right here where it says, behold, I will stir up the Medes against them. Them is talking about who? And Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency, shall be as when the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. All right? So that's what we see there. We see the prophecy coming to pass that the Most High is putting hooks in their jaws, turning them back to what? To the Soviet Union. All right? So with that, go ahead and close. We hope that the elect were edified. That will say Shabbat Shalom.